Hey there, this is Roy Samuelson. On this episode of the ADNA Presents, Howard and Lee Pugsley of the Darkroom podcast are back. They're both blind film critics. They co-founded the Blind Film Critic Society, and they've been doing the work of holding audio description accountable from the audience side for years now. We talk about credits, craft, and what bad audio description actually costs the people listening to it, and where blind criticism is headed as a formal practice. And there's also more. If you want access to an extended outtake, some of the conversation that didn't make this episode, email me directly at roy@roysamuelson.com. That's roy@roysamuelson.com with the subject line, More Darkroom. I'll send it to you. Here's the conversation, and as always, this is for Kevin. Welcome to the ADNA Presents. This is Roy Samuelson, and today we're honored to have the Darkroom podcast joining us. This is Howard and Lee Pugsley joining us. Thanks so much for being here, guys. Hi, Lee.
Hi, thank you so much for having us again. A pleasure to be back on your show.
There's been so many changes. Hey, Alex, how's it going?
Hey, thank you.
Through the Blind Film Critic Society, you explored all the things that are happening on the audio description front for films, and you named names. What I'd love to do is start by talking about why that makes a difference from your perspective. And then let's dive into some of the changes that have been happening on the Darkroom podcast, and then each of your own individual excitements that are happening within audio description. I guess if we could start, Alex, with you, why do the names in audio description matter to you? I know that's such a general question, but I'm sure you can run with it.
I think the title of performance is obviously important. Obviously, the performers weren't credited for a bit, and then recently they started getting credited. And I think the writers have been very underappreciated, especially. We like to highlight the best in audio description in the Blind Film Critic Society, but we wanted to really give credit to the performers and writers because we think the writers also play as vital of a role as the performers do. I think I also want to call out Amazon and MGM. This year, they are crediting the performers and writers after the track is over at the movies. I think they're the only studio doing that right now.
That's great to hear. And one of the things that's fascinating, I started off as an audio description performer, and I can't tell you how many times people have come up to me and asked why I wrote that particular line. That as a performer, I found it interesting that people kept on thinking that I wrote the script. I kept on trying so hard to say there's writers involved. There's a mixer involved. There's an engineer that's making sure that this is placed perfectly so that you laugh or scream or cry at the same time as anyone else that's watching the show. That all of these things really come together. Same with quality control, that this is the full chain link connection of all the teams. And to your point, Alex, the writers do 80-90% of the work here, that they are the poets of audio description. They make sure that all these elements of audio description are done in a way that makes it almost seamless. The word choices, what they're not saying, it's really exciting. Lee, what's your thoughts on what Alex said and also your experience with crediting?
Yeah, I think what it boils down to is this. It boils down to that for us in the blind and low vision communities, and really any community, but specifically looking through our lens, that the audio description writers and performers and the engineers, the mixers, everything you just mentioned, they're a part of the full production. To us, they're just as important as the director, the writer, the actors, because it gives us a full, comprehensive viewing experience that without any of that, we would not be able to have. So it's not a tangential or compartmentalized area production. For us, the audio description team is the full production as well. It fits seamlessly into our viewing experience. And therefore, why wouldn't we want to give credit to the writers and the performers? Because the heavy lifting that they do to make sure that film is accessible for so many different viewers matters. It's important. And also, a lot of people don't realize how much work goes into that, how much thought, precision, care, and passion goes into creating a wonderful audio description track, and how many hands are on deck to do that. It's a really well-oiled machine when it's done right. And I think that deserves some recognition. And I'm really happy that within our podcast, we've finally been able to give that recognition to people that are doing the quality work, because I think that this work deserves to be celebrated in whatever way we can celebrate it to help move it forward and to help amplify the voices of the writers and the performers to a more widespread awareness.
Oh, definitely. That's why we do our podcast, because we were feeling like, I listen to movie podcasts all day long, and I'm entrenched in entertainment news and press junkets and all these things, but no one's talking about audio description and movies from the blind perspective. So we felt like there was a void that needed to be filled. So that's why we do the interviews with audio description performers and writers, and Anna Capizera from Deluxe, and all the people behind the scenes, and Reese Lloyd, and all those people that don't get the recognition that they deserve in playing a part in our movie experience.
It's been great to see your focus, as well as being blind professionals, as critics, as having the podcast. In our interviews for the last 5 years, we've had over 250 professionals in audio description and getting the word out. I really believe it does make a difference when blind professionals like yourselves make that known. What has been your experience, Lee? Let's start with you, in the podcast, as far as your own professional pursuits, maybe some things that have changed since the last time you were on our podcast?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I would say first is that my experience being a part of the podcast, number one, I've learned a lot by doing these different interviews or going more to the nuts and bolts of audio description, performance, and writing. I've learned just how nuanced it is. It's definitely not a one size fits all thing, where before we did this podcast, not that I thought that it was, but it's just opened up my eyes more to how much nuance and how much craftsmanship is really involved in audio description, and making it look more, bringing me to a place of seeing it not just as something technical, but something artistic as well, and realizing that this is an artistic way of creation. The other thing that I've changed my view on over time, and this is largely in part to you, Roy, is looking at audio description performers as performers. I know that the term that most people commonly use is narrator, but realizing that when you have an audio description track that has a voice attached to it, it is a performance, because there's intentionality, there's care that goes into it, there's nuance and inflection of the voice, of the tempo, all of those things that you do as a performer to really add to the story, just like you would do as an actor. So that's one of the other things that my perspective's kind of shifted on over time.
You know, you've been involved as a filmmaker as well as an actor too, that you're able to see those contributions of what you bring to life. It's great to see that that's being recognized. And to Alex's point, let's come back to you, Alex, that what we're talking about here on our podcast is also all the credits of people that create this work. One thing that really stuck out with what Lee just said was the artistic contribution. And I'm curious about your experience balancing that artistic versus, I don't want to say requirement, but there is that neglect that's being addressed now, in the sense of films have historically, oh, we'll get audio description maybe. And it's this ambiguous kind of out there thing. And I love how both of you are advocating for this work to be a consistent part of everything. I'm not sure where you'd like to take this, but do you see where I'm going? And is there anything that you'd like to expand about as far as the Darkroom podcast goes, or your own personal experience?
I think definitely the films that say, oh, we'll get it eventually, especially Disney, but Warner Brothers and Paramount about 50% of the time as well. I think the back catalog is really important. I hang out, obviously, all my friends are working in film or film fans, being in LA, and, older movies come up all the time, and usually they don't have AD. And so with Disney literally going through their back catalog with Fox and Touchstone and Hollywood Pictures and all the stuff that they have, and 4K coming out, and they just did I think it's called Sky Captain World of Tomorrow. They did Rocky Horror Picture Show. They've done Alien. They've done all these different older movies and put AD on them. And Warner Brothers has done Rocky, and Paramount's done a bunch of their stuff. It's really great to see all of these older movies getting AD. And I really wish other studios would take it so that we can have everything with AD, and we can have full blown conversations about Reanimator or The Fly or these really small movies that we can be confident that we can have these conversations and not be left out. And it's really imposter syndrome when you feel like you can't talk about movies past 2010.
Yeah. I think what you said originally about the artistic contribution of audio description, do you think that there might be something related there, or are those two separate things, the backlog catalog as well as the artistic contribution of audio description? Can those be combined?
Those can definitely be combined. And I'll say from my observation in the past, which, as we talked about just now, there is improvement and there's more awareness happening. I think for a while when there were back catalog films that were being described, it almost felt like those were kind of the second class citizens where it's like, we'll get the job done. But that's all that they were doing was getting the job done. And merging kind of once again from more technical to artistic, it just felt more technical because it was like, we'll do the bare minimum just so that the blind and low vision community has something on these back catalog movies. But now I have noticed that, like with recent releases like
Kill Bill,
Titanic, some of those, I feel like maybe these audio description tracks have already been there, but I feel like just the quality that I've seen in the back catalog with audio description and it really being more of an artistic contribution, I've seen an improvement in there. And I've seen some titles that have gone back, maybe created new AD tracks, and they're more artistic and they're not as technical and not just let's get the job done. So I think that is really wonderful to see the growth and the progress that we're making there. There's obviously still more that needs to be made, but any change in the positive direction gives us hope for the future.
And I think to piggyback off of what Lee said, also doing the podcast for me, I've become a big movie theater advocate, and I feel like I'm more moving into exhibition and theatrical accessibility space. And having these back catalog movies be described and then put in theaters is awesome. Getting to see Jurassic Park on the big screen with AD, getting to see Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair on the big screen with AD, really makes me feel included, gives me the full experience of it.
It's great to hear. We keep talking about the artistic side. When you think about your podcast, Darkroom, and how things have changed, let's go back to the first interview that we had, I think a year or a few years ago, to where we're at now. Alex, if we could start with you, what's something that you're excited about where you're headed with the podcast, some new specific direction that you'd feel comfortable sharing with our audience?
We have a Pixar episode coming up that will be fun because I know Lee and I have very differing thoughts on certain Pixar movies. So that'll be a fun one that we've been waiting for. With Toy Story 5, we'll probably do that. But I think, we're excited to do more AD interviews, but I think we're also planning on expanding our horizon into all disability representation in all aspects of the industry. I mean, we've had talks about different actors, different people that Lee has worked with in the Disability Film Challenge, different people that I've interacted with. Between Lee and I mean, he's very involved with the Disability Film Challenge. I'm involved with Disability Belongs, formerly Respectability. So we have a lot of people we can reach out to and a lot of different perspectives to hear. Because I think one of the things missing in the industry still, they're working on it, but having the disability representation, disability stories, they're getting better at. But I think there are so many disability stories yet to be told in entertainment. And so for us to be able to promote that is a privilege for sure.
I think about audio description as this microcosm of disability that, while it's predominantly created by blind people for blind people, but blind people involved in audio description seems like this great example that can be expanded upon with regard to that representation of disability that is happening so much more often. And I can only imagine with that pivot to disability, not just on representation, but also in access. I'm sure with Anna, you were able to talk about the ASL opportunities with different films and other organizations that are following that lead. It's really exciting. Lee, do you have anything you'd like to add as far as the podcast, things that you're looking forward to with the Darkroom?
Yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to expanding our landscape, like Alex said, to include people from all different aspects of disability within our podcast as well. I do believe that audio description and accessibility in film will definitely be kind of like our home base. But now that we've kind of established that, it's going to be great to be able to give a voice to other people and to acknowledge the work that they do as well. And what I've realized from this podcast is that it really becomes an educational tool, just like this podcast, ADNA Presents, is an educational tool. And I've referred many people to your podcast when they've asked about audio description in the past. It's really great when I'm at a film festival or I'm with some filmmakers and they're like, oh, what is audio description, or what are the aspects of accessibility that matter? And I'm like, I'm glad you asked, because I have a few different podcasts that I can refer to you. I think it's just great to learn from the people that are doing it. I mean, I could go on and give them a whole lecture or a whole educational rant on, oh, this is what it is. And I do that to some degree. But when you're actually hearing from the professionals in the industry that are working either behind the scenes or in front of the camera, it just makes such a difference to hear it from their mouth. And I think that it's really kind of expanded the horizons of people that I've come in contact with. Like, I've even had filmmakers reach out to me after a festival to ask how they can get audio description on their film, or they're starting to think about it and they're like, I don't know what to do. And so as we continue to expand the different types of people that are going to be on our podcast, I think that also can provide resources for other people. And I think that's also very important, because it helps us all grow and learn together. We learn things and other people will learn things as well. And then in addition to that, I'm really excited about what's been happening with the Blind Film Critic Society. We started off small and mighty last year with the vision of John Stark. It was just me, John, and Alex that did the nominations and awards. This year we had Ren Leach on board. And so that was 4. And so we're growing slowly. But I think that it's so important, once again, to have that representation and to be able to have our podcast help to promote that, because it shows that blind people do watch movies and we do have an artistic eye and we have a lens of which to look through, where we can still see the artistry and we can still see the caliber of filmmaking that goes into making a film. Maybe we're bringing a different perspective to the table, but not any less of a valid perspective.
Yes, and if you're interested in joining us, well, all you have to do is be legally blind and watch 25 movies that were released in any given year. So if you do that, and post on social media, so Letterboxd or Instagram or whatever you use to post your thoughts on the movies. So if you do that, feel free to contact us, and we'd love to have you in the Blind Film Critic Society.
What would be an ideal next film critic?
Really, we're just trying to get more blind perspectives on movies. So literally, if you're legally blind and you watch 25 a year and you post your thoughts, you like to talk about movies. Oh, and you use audio description, obviously, is a big one. But yeah, I mean, we just want to expand our community and have more people to talk with about movies, have a good discourse with. So yeah, if you want to join us, we'd love to have you.
To add on to what Alex was saying, I think that the kind of people that we really love having as part of the Blind Film Critic Society are people that are just passionate about film, not necessarily that they have to be in the industry, but as a viewer, it just excites them to talk about film, to talk about the types of stories that are being told. And when we mention a film title, they're going to get excited. And I think that in an ideal world, the passionate people, the ones that really love film and have a perspective to offer after they watch a film, I think those are the people that would really excite us to bring on board.
Alex, you've been a part of the audio description discussion group for quite a while. You've been part of the Darkroom. You've done so much work and advocacy. When you think about where things are at, maybe something that you haven't shared publicly that you'd feel comfortable sharing publicly, what's something that you wish people knew more about you that they might not know or they might be getting wrong?
I think just that I'm still on my blind journey. Like, as much as it seems like I'm fully in it, I'm blind and I'm proud, I still have moments. I think we all have moments of regret, of, I'm the victim of, and, having bad audio description doesn't help that. It definitely puts you in that box of, if the AD doesn't work at the theater or something, you feel really shitty. You feel like you don't belong. brings you down in a bad place. And so being someone legally blind, and it's not always, oh, I'm blind and I'm proud. We all have moments. So it's okay to have those moments, and it's okay to be the victim and, reach out, and we all feel that way sometimes.
Thanks for sharing that. Lee, I'd love to talk with you. I had the honor of meeting you in person a few months ago, and I've seen your work as an actor. I've seen the work that you've produced. I've seen your podcast and how supportive you are of not only the audio description community, but other film communities too. And it's exciting to see what's happening with the Blind Film Critics Society here. When I think about asking you a similar question, what I'd love to know is, when you think about community, what does it mean to you? Maybe in the sense of something also that you might not have shared before, but that you'd feel comfortable sharing publicly.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. So this might be a little, maybe not the conventional answer that one would expect, but when I think about community, what I feel like it means is, in the midst of our differences, whatever those differences might be, we are able to come together as human beings. We're able to identify the relatable connective tissue that bonds us all together, because at our core, we all have the same essential longings and desires, which is love, acceptance, belonging. And even though we all come from very different backgrounds and we all have different perspectives based on where we came from and how we were raised and so on and so forth, I think it can be very easy for differences to get in the way, to avoid what's uncomfortable for us and to only stick within our lane and our bubbles. But I think that, to me, community means bringing together people from all different backgrounds, and let's just be human together, and let's enjoy the beauty of humanity and celebrating the differences together. And if we disagree on some things, we disagree, but there's enough at our core that can bring us together and unite us. So that probably sounds like a very candy-coated idealistic answer, but to me, that's very important. I have friends from all different communities. We disagree on certain things, but that's not enough to stop us from finding the unity and finding those connective fibers.
And if you can't tell, you can see why Lee is my co-host, because I'll say something and then he has an eloquent way of saying things.
It's a great answer. Both of you had great answers here, and I'm so thankful that you opened up a lot. It's great to see what's happening with Darkroom. It's great to see what's happening with Blind Film Critics. Let's make sure that our audience knows how to follow both. If we start with the Blind Film Critics, what's the best way to submit, and how can we learn more?
Yeah, so if you'd like to submit or ask us any questions, you can email the Darkroom. This is the general email for the Darkroom podcast, but also for questions and inquiries about the Blind Film Critic Society, you can email us at darkroomfilmcast@gmail.com. That is darkroomfilmcast@gmail.com.
You can follow the podcast on Instagram at darkroomfilmcast, and that's DARKROOMFIMCLAST. And then we also have a YouTube channel, which is Darkroom Filmcast as well. And then you can listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple, any place that you would normally stream your podcasts. We're going to be there. Just type in the Darkroom, Alex Howard, Lee Pugsley. There are a few different Darkrooms that I've noticed. Maybe typing in one of our names, Alex Howard or Lee Pugsley, along with the Darkroom would be the easiest way to get to us from a listening point of view as well.
Sounds great. I've got one more final question. I'm thinking about John and Ren. Let's talk about some good things that you would share publicly about either one of them. Alex, could I put you on the spot for that?
John is great with advocacy, and his movie, he does reviews of everything. If you've watched something, you're wondering what someone thinks, John's probably done a review of it. And Ren is awesome. Ren's so encouraging. Ren sent us an email with feedback on our Anna Capizera episode the other day to our email address. So Ren is very supportive. He's also a great audio description performer in his own right. So yeah, he did the audio description performance for The Penguin. So he is awesome as well. And he and I have a love for horror. So that's really great.
That's great. Lee, would you like to add anything to that? Talking about John or Ren?
Both individuals, John and Ren, are so incredibly insightful. And The amount of movies that John is able to keep up with blows my mind. It's so impressive. And he always brings a lot of insights to the table and really has a very nice critical eye about the way that he analyzes them. And Ren, he's just very passionate about film as well. And he has the best voice to listen to. I mean, even when we were kind of deliberating during the Blind Film Critic Society nominations, I would just get caught up in like listening to his voice because it's so soothing, yet authoritative, yet everything that you would want it to be. And just both of them are such wonderful individuals.
Great. And Alex shared something about you, Lee. Do you have anything you'd like to end with about Alex that hasn't been shared yet?
I love Alex as a podcast partner. I think that not only professionally is he a wonderful person, but as a friend, he's incredibly kind, intelligent, and so thoughtful. Alex is so thoughtful, and it shows in the insights that he brings to the table in the podcast, and just his passion for film and accessibility really shines through in a way that I always find very inspiring.
Alex, do you have anything else you'd like to share? Some other work that you're excited about sharing with our audience?
Yeah, so I have a consulting business, accessibility consulting. So if anyone needs any advice on how to make their website more accessible, how to get audio description on their films, how to have blind people represented in their script, anything in terms of blind or low vision accessibility and entertainment, you can email me. My email is alexhoward215@gmail.com, and I'd love to help you out.
Thanks, Alex. Lee, is there anything that you'd like to share in addition to what we've already done?
I recently did a film this year for the Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge, which is available on YouTube. I was the writer, producer, and one of the actors in it. And this one was really meaningful to me. It comes from a deeply personal place, and you can look it up on YouTube by searching the title, When You're Ready, Disability Film Challenge. If you have a chance to watch it, anyone that's listening out there, I'd love for you to check it out. A short 5-minute film, and hopefully you'll enjoy it.
We've covered so much. Thank you for that. Is there anything that we've missed?
I'm always saying, see movies in movie theaters. I think showing up and trying out the AD, and if it doesn't work, talk to someone, make a fuss about it, be nice about it. But I think support movies in movie theaters and support AD in movie theaters.
My final thought would be, let's continue to have these dialogues with people, both within the blind and low vision communities and outside of there. That's the way that we're really going to see progress move forward, by educating, but once again, not educating in a preachy way, in a way that we're just having dialogues and conversations, allowing people to learn from all sides and giving grace where there may be an education gap or a gap of knowledge, because we only know what we know until we know more. And on that note too, Roy, I just want to thank you for the work that you do within the audio description field. And when I first learned about the process of audio description and what went into it, it was actually this podcast, ADNA Presents, that first opened my eyes to how much detail went into audio description. Thank you for the continued work that you do. And once again, both the Darkroom and ADNA Presents are resources that anyone can use to help bring education to these topics. So let's keep the conversations flowing.